Forget the golden maps and the legends of millionaire merchants. Beneath centuries of dust lies a story of survival so brutal, it will redefine your idea of human ingenuity. The question isn't what they carried, but who they had to become to avoid being devoured by the road. What would you do with 1 camel, 2 water skins, and death as your constant shadow? In the next few minutes, you won't be watching a documentary. You're going to feel the sand in your eyes. You will walk with a caravan on the Silk Road, where deserts swallow men and oases sell betrayal at the same price as water. Stay until the end, because I will reveal the unwritten golden rule that saved more lives than any sword. Welcome to Lost History, where you learn without getting bored, with scenes you'll never forget. If you ignore this story, the past remains just a pretty drawing. But if you dare to look closer, you'll see that every line on the map wasn't drawn with ink, but with sweat, blood, and impossible decisions. At stake was not just silk, that treasure as light as a feather. It was the very DNA of our world. Ideas that would change empires, medicines that would save millions, religions that would shape the future, and the numbers you use today without a second thought. But every treasure had a price written on the bottom. Blisters the size of a coin, fevers in infested caravanserais, taxes that doubled with a false smile, and frozen nights without a fire for fear of bandits. Every step was a gamble. Choosing the wrong dune didn't mean a delay. It meant a grave of sand. In a moment, you will understand why the Silk Road was not a highway, but a chain of whispers, a pact between strangers with dry mouths. Chang'an, the capital of an empire, beats here, in its western market. The air is a tapestry of smells: leather, forbidden spices, sweat, and musk. The sound is a chaotic symphony: Sanskrit, Persian, Mandarin Chinese. Money changers strike silver as if it were the heart of the world. In the shade of a courtyard, far from the roar, we gather. The journey begins here. Him, the weathered merchant, counts his profits with a cunning that seems like calm. He knows the wrong weight is the difference between arriving or not. The scholar, with eyes that see beyond the horizon, brings paper and ink because curiosity is also a burden. The guard, silent, adjusts a simple breastplate under a dusty cloak. He doesn't speak, he measures. Sometimes the journey is saved because someone knew when to be silent. Bundles of rolled silk, light but valuable. Small silver ingots, jade rings. Sacks of dates, bags of salt, a basic first aid kit. Bandages, resin, herbal powders for fever. Ropes, a needle and thread for the torn tarp that can kill you in a storm. Cured skin water skins for the first few days. Charcoal for filtering. A low brazier and a kettle. Boiled water saves lives. What would you leave behind? One more roll of silk or an extra water skin? The trading mirror or the second blanket? This is where survival begins. Knowing how to say no. Bactrian camels, their double humps like reservoirs of purpose.
Come on, let's
Knees
go.
covered in calluses, eyelashes designed by the wind itself. Each can carry a great deal, but their true treasure is their rhythm. 30 steps, a breath. 30 steps, a breath. If you break the rhythm, you break the journey. The caravan pays tolls, obtains safe conducts, buys promises, a seal on a piece of paper, a handshake with a tax collector, a hospitality gift for a local magistrate. Here's the part almost no one tells you. Leaving the city is already a negotiation with the desert, but also with the men who claim to control it. Think about it. Silk is light, water is heavy. With a bundle of silk, you could buy food, favors, security. But with a water skin, you only bought one more day of life. Now you'll understand why, in some caravanserais, they sold shade for a higher price than bread. The land surrenders. Gravel turns to sand. The gobi doesn't scream. It whispers. It's a sea of silence that drives those seeking guidance mad. By day, the sun boils the blood. By night, the cold fractures the bones. You walk at dawn and dusk. You survive when the world isn't burning. Just speaking its name dries the lips. Taklamakan, the point of no return. Here, the horizon is a promise that is never kept. A mirage offers you a lake, a siren of sand singing your funeral song. A navigational error condemns you to walk in circles, with the sun as a witness to your folly. And here's the incredible part. Sometimes the only winning move is to not move at all. To make a wall of your camel, lower the tarp and wait. To pray that the sky tires before you do. The wind gives a warning. Grains of sand that sting the skin. A single order. Camels to their knees. Cover your nostrils with a damp cloth. Wrap your mouth. Close your eyes beneath the fabric. The guard drives the short stake. The merchant counts the bundles with his fingers more than his eyes. The scholar, who does not fight the wind, protects his ink. 3, 5, 10 minutes. The desert chews, spits, and moves on. What would you do if the dune, literally, moves beneath your tent? At night, the sky is the map. The North Star, a fixed nail in the north. By day, the land speaks a secret language, piles of stones left by others, animal bones, the remains of a fire like a black scar. The path is remembered with songs, with stories. To lose the rhythm of the song is to lose your way. Finally, you see it, a pool of clear water. Hope chokes you. The camel approaches but hesitates. The guard dips his fingers, tastes a drop, and curses. Salt. It's a shimmering poison. Not all water saves. Sometimes you have to walk on thirsty towards the next oasis. Have you ever wondered? The first virtue of a caravan traveler isn't strength. It's knowing how many no's you must endure to reach a living yes. At the edge of hell, a miracle. The Mogao Caves in Dunhuang. A scream of color after months of monotony. Here, the caravan disbands. There is shade. There are freshwater wells. There are hands that clean wounds. Clothes and souls are mended. But make no mistake, an oasis is not a refuge. It's a market that tests you all over again. Kashgar, Kucha, Khotan. Names that taste of dust and distance. Here, the entire world has gathered. A Persian sells glass that shines like ice. A Buddhist monk rolls his sutras. A spice merchant turns the air into a poem. Globalization wasn't born in a 20th century port. It was born here, in a shared patch of shade, with the universal language of gestures and need. In the oasis, bargaining and betrayal are twins. You agree on a price, and they switch the weights on the scale. You hire one escort, and another appears demanding their share. False seals, corrupt guards. Your caravan's guard doesn't draw his sword to kill, but to remind them that a bad reputation travels faster than any caravan. On the Silk Road, trust is the only currency that never loses its value. The merchant doesn't travel with all his wealth in metal. He carries letters of exchange, names of families who honor with paper what they cannot carry on mules. The scholar copies formulas, gathers stories. A doctor from Merv who cures with a bitter infusion. A craftsman in Samarkand who makes paper that doesn't bend in the humidity. The guard leaves discreet offerings at small shrines, Buddhist, Zoroastrian, Nestorian. Anyone who has crossed the sand knows that any god who offers relief is welcome. Months later, the city appears like a promise the body can't believe. Towers, domes, the disarming smell of bread, of the sea one had almost forgotten existed. The merchant touches the silk, not as merchandise, but like a child who has returned home. The scholar weighs his scrolls. Inside are stories that didn't exist in his language. And the guard, for the first time in months, allows himself to sleep with both eyes closed. What do you think was the outcome? To arrive isn't to finish, it's to change. Think about this. A journey that a plane today devours in 10 hours cost them entire seasons. Moon after moon. And yet they arrived. Not through brute force, but through a delicate mathematics of thirst, shade, fear, and a given word. Let's review the journey you've just survived. First, the departure. Chang'an wasn't a starting point. It was the first test. Knowing what to carry is knowing how to survive. Second, the desert. The Gobi tests you. The Taklamakan judges you. Tools that replace strength with prudence. Third, the oases. They aren't postcards, they are contracts. Bargaining, reputation, letters of exchange. Fourth, the arrival, Antioch, Constantinople. When you enter, you are no longer the same person. And here is your reward for staying until the end. That unwritten rule that saved more lives than any sword. It wasn't, don't travel alone. That's obvious. The true secret was this: do not improvise on the pain of others. The Silk Road was not a path. It was a living library of lessons written in scars.
The path ahead is
Storm protocols, routes sung from memory, names of families to trust, poisoned wells to avoid. The map lies if you think it's a line. It tells the truth when you see it as a web of trust woven between strangers. The true legacy of the Silk Road wasn't a fabric. It was the proof that for the world to move forward, trust must travel faster than merchandise. Imagine putting out the fire in a caravanserai as night falls. The camel chews its cud in the darkness. The merchant counts his profits by candlelight. The scholar blows the dry ink on his final scroll. And the guard sets his weapon aside, without fear. Outside, the desert keeps its silence. Inside, the shared shadow feels like an ancient victory. If you enjoy these immersive journeys where you learn without getting bored, like this video and subscribe to Lost History. Every day, a historic journey with scenes you'll never forget.